All right, hello, and welcome to our first episode of Data in the Hallway. This is a new podcast. My name is Ray Paik. I'm a community manager at PingCAP based in Sunnyvale, California, which is near San Jose, if you're not familiar with the Bay Area. We're very excited to launch this new content format. Hopefully you've seen some of our blog posts and other content material, but I mean, this not just for me personally, but for PingCAP, this is sort of a new medium that we're experimenting with. And I'm excited to be joined by my fellow co-hosts. So I'll go alphabetically. Like Brian, we can start with you. Tell us who you are, and then where you're. I know you're traveling this week, but tell us where you're normally working from. So.
Absolutely. No, thanks, Ray. And hi, everyone. Like I said, I'm Brian Foster. I'm a content director here at PingCAP. I work for our North American EMEA region in terms of setting kind of content strategy and working on all of our different marketing tactics. Again, very excited to be here. Also, a little bit too, I really, really enjoy open source. I've kind of been working in the space loosely, probably for the past 10 years. So really excited to kind of be a part of kind of this new initiative for PingCAP and getting to talk and kind of speak with you all going forward.
Daniel, I'll let you introduce
Yes.
yourself.
So I'm Daniel, and I'm a technical support engineer at PingCAP. I'm living close to Amsterdam in the Netherlands, so time zone-wise a bit further away than the other two. And I've been working as a DBA before I joined PingCAP, so I have the background of a DBA, and I'm now helping many of our customers use our product. So I'm looking forward to discuss databases and everything that's related to it.
Yeah, so I mean, great to be working with you. I've been here a little over like 6 weeks. Can you believe it, Brian? I've been here a little over a month. So some people are already calling me pretty experienced, but that's sort of reality, I guess, at PingCAP. But yeah, I mean, so like as we're getting started, I mean, we talked about this for the past 5, 6 weeks. Like, you know, I'm sure our plans and thinking would change as we sort of evolve. I think some of the topics, obviously, database will be one. I think all three of us talked about open source. We're all passionate and have strong feelings about open source. So anything open source or database related or any other topics, we'll talk about. It'll be like, I like this like a podcast format. It's because it's informal. Like we're not going to be too strict about what we want to or can talk about. So we'll keep it pretty informal. I think one of the things that we spent a lot of time on discussing was naming of the podcast, and we sort of settled on data in the hallway. Like Brian, how did you sort of go about coming up with ideas for the name? And yeah, it was just a lot more difficult than I thought it would be when we first started the conversation. But
it is, and in a lot of ways too, it ends up being kind of an iterative process and kind of looking at kind of other kind of podcasts that are out there, but more particularly, what are we trying to communicate to our audience? And ultimately, when we came, on the decision to select Data in the Hallway, it was really this idea, again, folks that, again, are used to attending conferences, again, with different hallway tracks, tend to have conversations kind of off the cuff in addition to sessions. And we wanted to provide, again, through this type of setting, kind of a great way to have those conversations about all things data, particularly open source. We want this to really be kind of an open source kind of, a conversation. But really, that's what really led to that. And I think, ultimately, another key piece of it is, we want to keep this really casual. So the last thing we want to do is start kind of scripting things and having, again, different types of kind of ways that it kind of makes the discussion again feel a little more heavy. We want to kind of talk with folks that maybe have some kind of that have interesting backgrounds, have interesting technical things to say, but really engaging with them in ways that I think folks from all across the spectrum, whether you're a developer, whether you're a DBA or some other type of technical engineer, can get something out of this in a quick, easily digestible way. So it's kind of a little bit there.
Cool. Yeah, it was pretty hard, like coming up with the name that wasn't already taken because there are a lot of podcasts out
Yeah.
there. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I mean, you mentioned hallway track. I mean, there was at least one podcast with the name like a hallway track, so that was like unfortunately taken. And
Yeah.
Daniel, I know you go to a lot of conferences too. Like hallway track is usually where you get a lot of learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot of learning, and that was also mainly the part that was missing from all the virtual conferences during the pandemic.
right.
So really good to have something to fill that gap.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like, we were talked often about FOSDAM as being one of my favorite conferences. And, good thing it still happened like virtually for 2 years, but it was so like good to be back. Like, a few months ago, it was hard not to get like emotional. We were just reconnecting with people and having that component of it. So hopefully we can bring that hallway conversation aspect of it back to uh, uh, with a lot of the guests that we're going to invite. So yeah, I mean, I guess Daniel, I'll start with you. I mean, are there like do you have any favorite podcasts or like some of the podcasts that you found interesting and or like why you like podcasts in general? Like,
So working from home has the added benefit that I can go out on a run just during the daytime. And the podcast really works very well as a medium to just like get a little piece of information, have it like an easy digestible format of like 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, where it's just zooming into like a certain area or get some like daily updates. So that's something I've been really enjoying. And that has been working really well for me.
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. What about you, Brian? Do you have a favorite podcast or that you listen to? Like,
I mean, not currently, but I do tend to kind of consume content in all different ways. I feel like probably the
right.
first podcast series that kind of got me hooked on podcasts in general was Serial when that launched many,
Okay.
many years ago. Non-technical
Yeah.
related, but just in terms of the
Right.
medium being able to do something in a way that others couldn't. And I think that's what I really enjoy about podcasts. And what we hope to, I think, replicate with this is that we're able in kind of a short time span have a much more in-depth conversation with somebody that you necessarily wouldn't be able to either engage with or connect with in a different type of manner. And I think for me, that's what's really what the power of the medium is. And one I think that, especially for kind of the types of topics and the types of things that we talk about, I think is a really interesting one because it's hard to kind of get those insights in such a condensed way in other mediums. So,
All right, cool. No, I mean, I think like one of the things that kind of jolted me. I mean, I think like we don't need to reveal our ages, but obviously we're somewhat far removed from college days.
mhm,
I mean, what I found out from college students, they're like instead of reading materials, they're getting links to like podcasts to listen to before their classes
mhm,
as part of their assignments. And then not only that, I mean, that wasn't that surprising because us professionals we get a lot of learning from podcasts. But what was interesting was that instead of turning in a written like an assignment, you have an option to like record something. Like, what are your thoughts about like X, like whatever the topic is on education, sociology, you can submit like a 5-10 minute recording
mhm.
instead of writing a 5-page paper, which I thought was like really interesting. So I don't
Yeah.
know if it's my attempt to sort of get with the program, what young folks are doing, but yeah, that one really made me think. Like when I heard that from like both like teachers and students. So
Mhm.
that's I think a lot of people are sort of taking an advantage of that this new medium. And I mean, Daniel, I can kind of relate to you about listening to podcasts as you're doing something that you enjoy, like running. I mean, I like to be in my backyard, like doing stuff, whether I'm like, cleaning the yard or pruning a tree. Uh, I'll have my Bluetooth like a speaker on with tuned to a podcast. I mean, I'm a big like a soccer fan, so I'll you know hear like pundits talking about different games, and I find it pretty enjoyable
Yeah.
and relaxing. So
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, hopefully, we can sort of, bring that intimacy and interesting topics to our podcast series. So we'll probably follow this up. I mean, we're, posting this episode 0 sort of to first introduce ourselves. I mean, we didn't want to mix this with our first guest, but this will be posted along with our, episode 1 with the topic on longevity of MySQL. So, hopefully you'll be able to find that pretty easily. So we're looking forward to sort of, churning things out. Just one, I guess, logistical stuff for people that are listening. If you ever have any feedback or requests for topics, or if you have suggestions for speakers, we have an email alias set up that all 3 of us are on. So it's pretty simple to remember. Hopefully, it's podcast@pingcap.com. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll include that in the description as well. Feel free to send us your suggestions. We'd love to obviously hear from you and get feedback. And if you have any comments or feedback, leaving them on YouTube would be a great way to sort of tell us what you think about the series as well. So, Daniel, Brian, any parting thoughts?
No, like I said, I think, again, this is going to be a great kind of, forum for us to have these types of intimate, organic conversations. So I'm just looking forward to, again, kind of outside of a host, just being able to consume and kind of learn from some of the great folks we have lined up. So if anything, I'm just really excited that we're doing this.
Cool.
Yeah, really looking forward to the next few episodes that we've already planned out.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. So obviously enjoy working with both of you outside of podcasts, but especially back this podcast. I look forward to this, and hopefully we can look back in a few months and see how we're doing. So, cool. All right.
That's great.
Thanks very much, and thanks for listening.